Hey guys, welcome to the first live stream at Bomb Money. You guys hear me all right? What's going on, Gumby? Hope you guys got some juicy questions going. Ready to answer them to the best of my ability. So I wish I had a little bit more time to plan this morning, but I found out last minute that YouTube, you cannot just enable live streams. So next time we'll do this on YouTube, but for now, here we are on Twitch. So who wants to deliver that first question for me? I know someone's got a juicy question. Great question. So we have there's some big plans we have involving lending and borrowing and how we can use bomb as collateral to borrow other assets or for users to be able to deposit certain cryptos that they might not be wanting to sell because they believe in them long term. So being able to deposit that and use that as collateral to borrow bomb to start getting involved in the bomb protocol is something that we're going to be doing. It's something that we could implement ourselves, but I think with this, there's big benefits to working with an already established lending borrowing protocol. So something major that we didn't announce yet, so I don't want to get too in depth into it, but we're going to have a lot of new ways to get involved with some of these other bigger protocols on BSC, and that's going to be kicking in very, very soon. So there's probably not as much need to do that ourselves. And again, there's a lot of advantages to doing it with an established protocol that already has a ton of users. So if everything falls through, we can definitely do it ourselves. The liquidity available wouldn't be as high as if we do it with somebody else, and we wouldn't get all those extra users from another platform. So I'm confident that we'll be able to get that set up with another provider and another protocol. Sorry. And we got another interesting twist on using bomb as collateral that I'll announce sometime soon. It's already been fully planned out, but I know I've been getting in some trouble for announcing things that aren't quite ready, so I'm going to hold off on announcing things until they're a little bit more solidified. So I know I didn't directly answer your question, but rest assured that lending bomb is coming in the very near future. Exciting roadmap ahead. What is the milestone that you and your team want to achieve first? I think we've already achieved a lot of pretty great milestones that we achieved a lot faster than we had expected. In terms of what's next, definitely the BTC single stake is something that we've been working on for quite a while, and we really want to get that out and move on to being able to talk about other things and delivering other aspects of our roadmap, both our public roadmap and internal roadmap. But yeah, the focus right now is definitely on finalizing BTC single stake and getting that out the door and letting our users take advantage of that, and new users, and getting that first round of BTC funding in, and deciding how big our second round should be, if we need to adjust anything for the second round. But besides the BTC single stake, the other items that were mentioned, not this announcement, but the previous, about easier user interface, there's 3 or 4 things that were mentioned in that haven't happened yet. So huge priority just to get those things done and make everything a lot easier to use, and just be able to target a lot more users, not just the TOOM experts, and also just to funnel users into the right places, right? Like to have somebody visit our website and then start asking questions about B shares, and there's a lot to understand before someone should be getting involved in those things. So I just think that the current website's not really pointing people in the right direction. So those are definitely milestones. Once I could just send someone to the site and have it kind of be self-explanatory, and only have questions come up if it's something above and beyond what a typical user would be doing, then that's a huge milestone that we're going to hit very soon, and it's gonna greatly benefit the platform. So I don't know if that fully answered your question, but new website. So what we're going to do at first is we're not going to actually replace the website. We're going to have um, a landing page. So you can see like our current site is at app.bomb.money. So right now just bomb.money just forwards there. So we're gonna have like a landing page slash homepage kind of that's gonna be just right at bomb.money. And that's gonna just kind of explain everything very simply, and it's gonna point people in the right directions. And that in combination with like fully revamped documentation, where we don't really talk about the more complex things until deeper into the documentation, um, you know, it's gonna make a huge difference for us, and that's coming very soon. Like I believe that landing page is just about ready. It's just waiting on me to get some more content into it, and then I hate to give timelines, but I I don't see why it wouldn't be launched sometime this week. Let me see if I missed any questions here. How much BTC do you have planned for the first stake? Is it all spoken for? It's not all spoken for. Originally, we were going to do 100 BTC for the first round. I think we might just dumb that down a little bit to 50 BTC just to create that much more exclusivity on it, and you know um, really push people to get their BTC in, and that'll let us kind of just close that first round and gauge how that went in terms of allocating those BTC into our farms and vaults, and how what the reception is like on how we implement it. So to see if we need to change the terms or um, change any aspect of it for round two. So I think it's going to be better to do a smaller round for the first one. I mean, 50 BTC is still a fair bit, um, but yeah, I think just being able to come to conclusions on how well that works is going to let us do a second round that's a lot bigger with a lot more data points to really make sure that we release it with terms that people are happy with, and something that works for the protocol and works for our users. In terms of is it all spoken for at this time? If we do a 50 BTC launch, then I don't like I have fairly firm commits on 20 to 25 BTC, um, but there's likely a lot more BTC that's waiting to get staked that I haven't heard about. So um, it could all go really quickly. It wouldn't surprise me. All right, let's see if I missed anything else. One new website, I already touched base on that. What is the challenge of implementing the BTC single stake on the bomb ecosystem, and how will it affect the peg in the short and long term? Great question. So this is part of the reason why, or this is, I mean, your second part of the question kind of goes back to the challenge of implementing it, because at first I said some things that weren't accurate. I said that, Peg is going to go crazy with BTC single stake, and, it's going to be released really soon. And, I said all those things without really, you know, starting the development and realizing the implications of those things. And, and as I've said numerous times in the past, it's a huge priority for us that nobody loses money. You know, Obviously we aren't in full control of that. People are going to do what they want to do, and but we want to make sure that if people are doing what we recommend them to do, their chances of losing anything is as minimal as possible. So with BTC single stake, it's a very straightforward thing, right? So it's just you stake BTC and you earn BTC. So they can't really do anything wrong. So I mean, we're in full control there in terms of making sure that we safeguard their assets and making sure that the protocol is safeguarded as well. So the first thing that I'll correct from what I said earlier is that I don't want to unnaturally push peg super high because of BTC single stakers. So I'm not just going to be taking, if somebody stakes 10 BTC, there's not going to be automation in place at first. There's never going to be automation in place that's going to directly dump that into the LP, because we need to have controls in place to, prevent peg from just flying all over the place due to, massive stakes and unstakes from BTC mainnet. And there's several ways that we're going to do that. One thing I meant to mention though is that in terms of peg, I don't mind, like if the peg is already naturally high, like let's just say it's at 1.3, 1.4. I mean, if BTC single stakers want to get involved, I mean, it's something we're going to have to deal with the peg at those points. Uh, But if the peg is, hanging around near peg, or like, somewhere in the 1 to 1 point, or somewhere in the 1 to 1.1 ratio, I'm going to be doing as much private placements of BOM to those BTC stakers, because there is a lot of BOM both at the treasury and my own wallets, because I've been supporting the price quite a bit. And I know some of my friends have also been doing the same thing, so they're pretty heavy on BOM right now due to supporting the price at times in the past when it needed help. So there's quite a bit of BOM that we can allocate out to BTC single stakers without impacting peg. And it's key to remember that when we do that BTC that we take in from doing a private placement, if it's the treasury or it's my wallet or it's one of my good friends' wallets that I know is holding a lot of BOM, like we're able to jump back in. Like if somebody is gonna do a big BTC withdrawal, we can use treasury BTC, or I'll use my own BTC to lessen the blow to peg. And as well, there's other things that we have in place to put BTC to the side in anticipation of withdrawals, as to not negatively impact peg at all when, well, I shouldn't say at all, but to minimize impact on peg when withdrawals occur. I hope that answered your question. If there's anything else related to that you want to know, again, let me know. Let's go to the next thing. Seifu audit refers to possible printing issue if protocol corrupted and recommends a 5% limit. Will team be implementing this recommendation? In theory, if corrupted, would it be possible to cause a flash loan and print unlimited amounts of BOM? Okay, so to implement, while I agree that I agree with what they put in that audit, keep in mind though that a deployed smart contract, you cannot just update hard-coded aspects of it, and the only thing that you can change are variables that are inside of that were written and intended to be updated. Hey dude, thanks for your love of BOM. I love BOM too. So we cannot implement that recommendation, but the thing to keep in mind though is that only the owner of the contract has that minting rights, so we can definitely transfer that ownership to a time lock, and we can transfer it to a multi-sig, and there's a lot of different things that we can do to kind of, like right now, like I am like my wallet is the owner of that contract, so yeah, technically I could mint unlimited BOM right from day one. I could have done that. Obviously I'm not doing that. The only minter of BOM is the treasury, when epochs are printing epochs, but yeah, we can definitely transfer ownership of that contract elsewhere, just so that it's not even possible for me to print BOM or to mint BOM. All right, let's move on. At what TVL do you see BOM money really gaining attention and hitting that moment of escalating quickly in TVL? So for this, I think once we hit certain milestones in TVL, then larger and larger investors will feel comfortable coming on board. I'm not sure exactly what those numbers are. I know when we were really small, we were looking for 10 mil TVL to get some, slightly bigger investors on. But I think the 100 mil, probably just the round numbers are, my best guess, 100, 250, 500. I think at each of those, milestones, we'll probably have different investors that start to feel more and more comfortable. And, as well to, just test of time, right? I mean, I looked yesterday at some of the other, I really don't spend much time at all looking at other Tomb forks, but I was looking at the Tomb Fork Watch Twitter, and I saw that there were some other forks that had surpassed us in TVL temporarily when they were fresh. And the last chart that they had up showed there was one fork that was ahead of us, but I had checked that fork, and they're now have dropped quite a bit. So so we're the original, and we also still have the highest TVL. I mean, not including a competitor that's not really a direct fork, but. All right, moving on. Again, if I don't answer any of these questions, if I'm not touching the points that you want me to touch, just let me know and I'll readdress them. Aaron, what do you think? What role can BOM play BTC in the future? Like easier to move BTC from mainnet to BSC, etc. Yeah, so there's other things that we have planned, because we have that BTC payment gateway. We definitely could have a service where we allow people to transfer BTC from mainnet to BSC and just charge a very minimal fee for that. That's definitely something that we can do, and I've thought of that in the past. Um, Another option is, so BTC mainnet stakers, they're essentially going to be investing in our LP, and we're going to make that extremely obvious to the BTC mainnet stakers, and they're going to be able to track, like, you know, we're not going to call it LPs because we want to simplify things. We'll call it something along the lines of bomb investment units or something like that. I mean, we will definitely explain exactly what that consists of, and the risks and the upside that comes with that. Um, but yeah, at some point in the future, we will allow a BTC mainnet staker to like withdraw those LPs onto BSC if they so choose to. So we'll offer that in addition to you know just on ramping BTC. And I mean, who knows what else we'll think of in the future that might be a value add for BTC mainnet holders. We're always open to suggestions. All right, next question. What are your plans with your massive bomb stack? Is your goal to be able to distribute into the LP eventually when the market can support it? Have you considered burning it? I mean, I think it's important to remember that, the vast majority of my bomb stack, I either purchased myself at high levels, low levels, way before we got to Peg, or, I have obviously received some for the developer rewards on, when we've been printing. Um, but definitely well over 90% of my total bomb I've bought myself. So I don't plan on burning that bomb that I bought myself. Um, so I mean, yeah, I mean, my plan right now is pretty much to distribute it to um, BTC single stakers or any other large institutional investor that wants to take a massive position. It would be beneficial for everybody to, if they were able to get in without impacting Peg in a huge way. So I'd, offer them private placement, and I just want to farm a lot, right? So I just want to, be able to place half of my bomb into BTCB and get my farm kicking. I mean, obviously, I'll sell a little bit to cash out at different points in the future just to diversify a little bit. I don't need to be 100% bomb, but I'll keep it 90-95% at least. Um, Next question: what do you think about B bond single stake? Is it possible to implement? What kind of effect will it have on the protocol? I haven't put too much thought in that, to be honest. I mean, I guess I'm open to suggestions for that. We do have a lot in the works right now, so it'd be something that wouldn't be implemented right away if we got the right idea. But um, yeah, I mean, if anybody has any interesting ideas on that or sees how maybe another protocol implemented that and thinks it would work for us, I'd definitely be willing to look at that and see if it makes sense for us to do that. But just to answer your question, at the moment, there is no current plans for that. Okay, once next question is, once Peg is well above 1 and the boardroom is printing additional bomb tokens, how will you manage inflation so as not to affect the Peg when there are many more bomb tokens? I mean, that question just boils down to how the protocol works, right? Like, it's the reason that we're above Peg is because there's more demand than there is supply, so that's why we're printing. So you know um, the way that we manage inflation is by only printing when there's enough demand. That's basically like just the whole concept of the protocol. So I'm not sure if I'm going to get too much more in depth in that. Love the project and team. Thank you. Great to see things remain stable during a wobbly time for most cryptos. Had a question regarding B share price appreciation. Given the auto compounding options now offering sell pressure, do you think we will see a more gradual price increase as we hit retain peg rather than the crazy gains it saw prior to the auto compounding? So the crazy gains that we got prior to the auto compounding wasn't due to auto compounding. It was just due to speculation on B share and just speculation on the whole protocol really. And you know it wasn't. It was it went up way too fast and way too high in a short period of time. So it wasn't healthy, and it doesn't typically stick when that sort of thing happens. Um, I definitely see B shares appreciating in value as we're printing more consistently, and you know once we have all these improvements in place that I've been talking about, we're going to be able to onboard a lot more users every day. So it's the sell pressure that we get naturally on BOM from people reinvesting or taking profits. It's we should be able to eat that with our massive amount of new users and new funds popping on the platform. So yeah, I think we'll be printing a lot more consistently, and I feel B share is going to definitely be able to appreciate in value and more than counter the self effects from the auto compounder. So I do think that we will hit prices higher than what we've seen in the past, but just because the size of our pools are going to be so much larger, we won't see those same APRs that we were getting in the past, I don't think. And again, if there's any other aspect of that question I missed, feel free to let me know and I'll try and address it. Let's see the next question here. Question from Discord. Curious as how the team plans to manage capital reserves. Harry is a billionaire. Anytime Tomb falls far under peg, he buys it back up. He's almost like a backup mechanism to keep peg. How is BOM planning on keeping it close to peg? Well, I think, I know that once there's an intrinsic use case for BOM, it gives it intrinsic value. Bottom line is we just need there to be more buy pressure on BOM than there is sell pressure. And, a lot of items in our roadmap are geared for that exact specific purpose. A lot of the different items at first are going to be, financial use cases such as the lending, borrowing, and, just different ways to utilize BOM to make money or to interact with our protocol. But we want to move towards developing a lot of use cases that aren't just strictly financial. So, one thing, for example, would be, an NFT marketplace where we have our NFTs and maybe other NFTs in the future where, everything's purchasable in BOM. That's just one idea off the top of my head, but we've got a whole list of them internally of, different use cases and different suggestions that we've gotten, and some of them are really great. So once we have these current items on our plate taken care of, such as BTC single stake and the website changes and documentation changes, we'll, move into announcing and developing some of those other use cases that are beyond just financial use cases. My outfit goes with the BOM colors. Yes, sir. Calculated. Actually, I'm not sure if I fully answered that last question. Let me just see. Yeah, I think I answered it fairly well. So I think the first part of your question. So the Treasury receives a large amount of B shares in BOM. Well, it receives BOM when BOM's printing, or like when the boardroom's printing. Those so previously, when we were well above peg, I would take those assets and I would convert them into stable coins and just other cryptos that are not BOM assets, just so that there's a reserve there to be able to help peg in the case it's needed. So last time it ran up, I was selling all kinds of B shares from the Treasury account, when it was over 10,000, and that did really, we had a couple $100,000 or maybe even more than that to prop BOM back up, and that'll, when we drop peg after that initial run, that couple 100,000 wasn't enough to get it back to peg, but it definitely greatly helped move it in the right direction. So I'll definitely be doing something similar to that. I don't think it's sustainable to have one guy as a billionaire that's going to back it, because, it's at a certain point you just say, okay, well, I'm going to stop pouring money into this. And, I'm not sure he's helping to the same extent that maybe some people think he is. Like, I know that he is definitely, helping out when needed, but, it was sat at 0.95 peg for quite a while, and he could have easily fixed that, but it's not natural for one person to fix it. You need, the community needs to grow and, value the asset higher, because if one person just fixes the price, well, then everyone's just going to dump and say, hey, that's not naturally what the price should be at. So, and if he's just going to keep pumping it back up to 1.0 peg, why don't we just keep dumping into it, right? So let's move on. And again, if I missed any part of that question, feel free to let me know in a follow-up question. Sorry that I keep looking to the right. It's just I got my chat open over there on my second screen. Do you have a TVL target for the next 6 months and year? In my last AMA, I kind of touched base on this. it's obviously just rough guesses when I, shoot out TVL numbers, but being the first tomb fork and having the community that we have and the peg choice that we have, and I think just making a couple of the right decisions in terms of being able to target the right users and having a much wider target audience and targeting the right type of BTC mainnet holders. Like I know that the maxis are going to be very difficult to convince to deposit their BTC, but they're just one aspect of the BTC mainnet users. So I think just continuing to do what we're doing right now, but optimizing it and you know implementing some items on a roadmap. I think again, I love to compare to Tomb because they're the established player that has a very identical protocol essentially. If they're at 1.5 billion TVL and not a whole lot is they just started implementing some changes in the platform, but up until the last month, I don't think anything's changed really. So for them to be at 1.5 billion with the bare bones version of the fork, well, they're the original, but without having implemented anything new up until very recently, and then getting to that TVL, I really think that 5 billion TVL is very possible if, once we've executed and, as things start to progress for 1 year. I mean, let's just say that I expect things to get into the billions. I don't know about timelines or, this is a long-term project, so, my long-term plan is to be well over 10 billion TVL, but that might be a few years out. Is bomb merch going to be a thing in the future? 100%, brother. I can't wait to get some bomb merch. Wish I was rocking some bomb merch right now. But yeah, we'll make that available for users, and hopefully we can integrate it in a way where we can have that all purchased with bomb. Well, I'm sure we can, but maybe at first it won't be that way, just so that we can get it out the door quicker, but at some point that'll be the case. Next question. When you create the bomb blockchain, have you considered what type of chain it will be? Do you have any targets you want to fork and build off? Good question. It's a little bit early to answer that sort of thing, but I can say that I've played around extensively in the past with a fork of Ethereum, like an EVM-based chain, and had a lot of fun doing that and got really comfortable with it. And, that's definitely, it makes a lot of sense to do something EVM compatible. So that likely will be the route that we go, something that's proof of stake and, very similar to the other chains out there, like, the Phantoms and of the, stuff like that. And I do have experience in that. I ran OneCoin chain for a little while. That was fun. But I've also have, I really like the Polkadot framework that they use. So I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with Polkadot, but Polkadot in development, they realized that, a large percentage of their code could be used by other chains. So they kind of split off the core functionality and made that a framework, and then put the Polkadot specific stuff separate from that, so that anybody can now take this framework and kind of build a blockchain exactly how they want it to function, but with this unbelievably solid core. So the framework is called Substrate, and it has some things built into it that just makes any fork of Ethereum look kind of outdated. Like for example, having like runtime updates that you can actually process as a transaction on the network. It's like things like having to have every single node operator update their software, or else you end up having forks of your chain because not everybody updated. Like that's like a thing of the past when you're using Substrate, because you can just implement that as a transaction, and that's something that like an admin user can do at first, but they have different governance systems in place that you can implement, so that that's something that's voted on, so everybody's happy about changes before they get implemented. And yeah, like I really enjoyed working with Substrate, but it's a challenge to make that EVM compatible. So like all these smart contracts wouldn't run natively on it, so that definitely introduces a challenge. Although I know that there's one blockchain, I think it's Moonbeam or Moonriver, Moon something. They are fully EVM compatible, and they're based on Substrate. So it's definitely something that can be done. But hope that answers your question. Hyper bullish. I'll sell my sister to buy bomb. Just your sister? I'm just kidding. You're not streaming on YouTube as well? No, I was. The plan was to stream on YouTube, but I went to set that up this morning, and it said it takes 24 hours to activate streaming on YouTube, so I had to kind of rush to get Twitch set up. So YouTube will be next week. Yep. Next question. What is the current marketing being done, and what are the next plan to reach out to more users? So right now we have a couple different things running. We're still running our Google ads. We have banner ads that are running on numerous different specific sites that we wanted to target. But there's a huge deal actually that we just signed yesterday in regards to marketing that I want to just get a few more details on that before I announce it. But we've made a massive allocation of funds to a really high tier marketing firm that's very reputable. So I won't say too much more than that right now until I announce it officially, but there's a lot going to be happening for marketing. I think it's more marketing tactic now. A billionaire's backing it, so it must be legit. Better to have a sustainable system like you are building. Yeah, I agree. Bitcoin is a superior asset to FTM. So it's definitely different. It's definitely, in the eyes of the beholder and what you're looking for in an asset. Like, in terms of pure upside, I would say FTM, has more potential upside. But, again, back to what I said in my AMA, if you're looking, like a typical investor and, your number one goal should be to not lose money, and to be able to generate a high yield with that safety net, something that I think is unparalleled and something that only we can offer. And, being, having our main investment vehicle being a BTC LP that we are paying a very high yield on, that yield's going to go up very soon once, B shares appreciate in value. It's in that regard, I definitely agree. But yeah, it's all about what people are looking for. What about marketing? I already touched base on that. Can't wait to wear bomb merch on a plane. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. Make sure you record it. Where are you and your physical team located? I'm in Canada, so right now I'm in Waterloo, Ontario, in Canada. I'm lived most of my life in Toronto, though. A lot of the team is in Canada, but a lot of the team's also spread out throughout the world. So we have a lot, in the U.S. and we have some overseas, and we're really spread out. But I'd say, we're still kind of ironing out like who's the like the real core team. So I mean, it's hard to say like where's the core team located. It's kind of located all over. All right, let's see what else. Can someone hop into YouTube chat and tell Aaron to check Twitch chat? That's what I'm doing. I'm just reading Twitch chat. Hold on, I might be way behind now. So once we reach PEG, B shares start printing. Would you advise to get in on the B share LP2, or is that bad for protocol? So when we reach PEG, bomb get printed, not B shares. B shares are emitted linear over 12 months and only to our two farms. It's really important for B share, BNB, pool, farm, vault, whatever you want to call it, to have some good liquidity there, because the more liquidity there, the constant sells from the auto compounder make less of an impact, and it can allow a new investor to take a bigger position without impacting the price too hard. Because I know if I'm getting into a new investment and I want to put a big chunk in, I don't like seeing that the price is going to change drastically. So it's really important to have good liquidity there, and that's why it pays as well as it pays, because Bomb provides you that insane safety of BTC. The boardroom pays insane APRs when we're printing. So, the B share LP is like, kind of a happy medium where it's more risky than the Bomb LP, but it prints, I say it prints, but it yields rewards 24 hours a day, regardless of any other factors. So it's safer than the boardroom in terms of it's always paying. So, I mean, it's nice to have a mix between them. Like I'm a more active kind of guy when it comes to trading, so like I'll switch between what I'm in. If I see B share prices are low, I might exit some of my B share LP and use some of that BNB to buy some B shares. It really just depends on what you want to do and how active you want to be, and how much risk you want to take. Where was I? Thanks, Aaron. Love the project and the auto vaults. Building my BTC. You bet, brother. Doing the same thing. Any thoughts on Ohm and its forks collapsing? Um, I never really got too into Ohm forks or even Ohm in the first place. Um, so I don't have too much of a comment on that besides the fact that I have noticed that a lot of them are getting smoked. Um, Wish I had more insight on that, but unfortunately I do not. Bomb is going to make me a millionaire. Yep, you and many others, my friend. Is there any limit to which bomb can go over peg? Nope, it can go as high over peg as market allows it, right? It's um, yeah. I mean, like if we had $100 million of buy pressure on bomb right now, the peg would go to like 20 or something stupid. And you can see that from our forks of us or forks of Tomb, where a lot of the forks they set their parameters really weird, or they didn't have like the we had Genesis pools, then we had a bomb farming pool, and then finally we started our B share rewarding pools. Um, the couple minutes I spent looking at other forks, I noticed a lot of them just skipped out that middle section, where that's like the main way that you want to seed that your main token into the into the ecosystem or into the hands of your users. So we had that running for like a week or something before we started our B share farms. So I mean, if a fork doesn't implement that middle farm, you really don't have a lot of your main token out there, and that's why some of them, we struggled. We didn't struggle, but it took us a little while to reach peg for the first time. And that's because bomb, Bitcoin was at 55,000 at the time, so bomb needed to be 550 or whatever, and we had 140 to 170,000 tokens out there. So we needed $750,000 of buying on bomb for us to get to peg, where I guess maybe other forks had seen that, we weren't instantly at peg, so they decided to not have as many tokens out there. So I don't know if there's any, I'm probably giving them too much credit. They probably just messed up, but I'm just kidding. I'm sure they knew exactly what they were doing. Um, is Bomb going to have its own marketplace, NFT marketplace? We kind of have to if we're going to sell, if we're going to offer NFTs for Bomb. I'm not sure that we could do that on any other marketplace. Um, the thing that I love about crypto though is that there's just so many great examples of everything that you could want to do, or in addition to that, there's tutorials and guides and all these different things. So for someone like myself that's a quick learner that maybe hasn't done that specific thing in the past, usually I can find a good candidate for a fork and um, figure out exactly what needs to be manipulated in order to get it to work how I want it to work. So we will have our own marketplace so that we can offer the NFTs strictly, for purchase with Bomb. The tilt you made to reward more B shares to the Bomb BTCB Bomb LP, is that still in place? Are you happy with how you currently have rewards allocated between the farms? Um, so I think that at the time that change was made, it definitely really helped because there wasn't enough interest in the Bomb BTCB, farm. So I was definitely happy with the results of that. It was adjusted afterwards very slightly back towards the direction that it was in previously. Um, and that's still in place right now. I think right now, I don't think any adjustment is required on that. Um, I'll obviously keep a close eye on it. It's really important that we do have good liquidity in the B share BNB pool, just for reasons that I mentioned earlier. Um, so yeah, I'm definitely going to keep a close eye on that, and I'm also, just like everything else, I'm open to suggestions. If anybody sees an issue with the rewards, how they're being distributed, or has an idea of how to modify it that would be beneficial, if that can be explained to me in a way that makes sense, then, definitely open to looking into that. What about auto compounders? Will there be different auto compounders? Can you rephrase that question about the auto compounders? Like, do you mean like, are we going to be on other platforms? Is that the question? Or like, are we going to have other options on our auto compounding site? I'll get back to that once you clarify that question. Other options on auto compounding. So that didn't really clarify which side you were. So, what are your thoughts on something like single staking, possibly Bomb? So, I have very in depth plans regarding this. So, I'll announce that next Monday. People would be more interested in single staking BTCB. Well, I mean, single staking BTCB is not something that we're going to do on BSC because those people can just throw that into our auto vaults. Um, well, I mean, it's something that we can have with our lending and borrowing protocol if we decide to launch that ourselves. Um, yeah, I mean, definitely if we launch a lending borrowing, aspect of Bomb, we'll have BTCB as an option there for single staking, along with all the other major assets. What are some of the big things we can expect with the new website landing page? Um, so, what you can expect is, just to have a much simpler, basically just something that explains the protocol in a way that anybody can understand. It puts the key pieces of information, front and center, such as, are the yields that we're paying, and you know, basically like just like I really feel like this is like a once in a lifetime investment opportunity to get these kind of yields on double BTC pairs. So that needs to be extremely apparent when somebody first hits the website. So it's just going to be a big focus on simplicity and getting users the information that they need to want to learn more and to want to get involved and to point them in the right directions and that sort of thing. As well, we're going to have like a teams like we're going to show like all the members of our teams with pictures and LinkedIn profiles and you know another like a big focus is that we don't want like I know that people when they come into chat they can kind of get the feel for that myself and the team are credible people and we've doxed and things of that nature, but we don't want people to have to go into chat because I'm sure that for every person that comes into chat to ask us there's probably 3 to 5 people that came to the website that just said, hey, I don't see the team, not interested, right? So it's critical for us to have all that information available without people having to kind of reach out and ask for it. When governments move to B share bomb holders. So um, we actually already have a voting, like I've been playing around with this. So we have this launch right now. It's at vote.bomb.money. Right now, it is set to check. So your voting power at this moment is based on your B shares in your wallet and also how many B shares you have staked in the boardroom. So, and this works. We had a test vote that I deleted. Um, but there's some ideas in the works in terms of the single stake on Bomb. Really don't want to get into details, so I don't want to kill next week's announcement, but um, let's just leave it at that. But there's some really exciting things coming up that are going to create a lot of demand for Bomb. Let's just leave it at that for now. Can you explain why we need B bond? Do you mean like why the protocol offers B bond or why you as an individual investor need B bond? I'll answer that once you clarify. Hell yeah, doxed and picks makes people bullish. Well, the plan is just to be transparent and honest, and if that results in bullishness, then I'm a happy man. The more we are in a sideways market, the more people will seek yield on their assets. Agreed. And I think that, the mad rush to Tomb Forks because, they're super lucrative at first. I think people are seeing the risks involved with that. Um, in terms of all the different rug pulls that have happened and, all the, the pumps and then dumps, but dumps where they don't recover like we did. Like obviously we hit down to like zero point 0.6 peg after our first pump. And we recovered, and now, we've been right around peg. And, with some of these things coming out in the future, I think we're going to be printing a lot more often. I'm very confident we will be printing a lot more often. Stuart won the fake vote. Good job, buddy. Is there any specific reasons for you choosing Tomb's code? Very specific reasons, actually. Um, so there's again, I'm fairly new to crypto compared to a lot of other people, but I had heard a lot of horror stories about, algo coins, and, I'm big into finances and math and programming. So algo coins was naturally something that, kind of interested me once I had learned about it. And, I heard a lot of horror stories about, once they lose peg, they death spiral. And, I didn't really know any good examples of, algorithmic coins that had really succeeded. So when I found Tomb, um, I wasn't really looking for an algo coin when I found Tomb. I was just kind of, you know, I was just kind of looking, playing around at Phantom and just seeing, where can I park my money and make the most with it. And, I just kind of skipped over Tomb when I saw it on Grim the first couple times I saw it, just because it was paying too much. Everything else that was paying that much was just a trash tier token in some kind of farm. And if you looked at the charts, you just see that, despite the fact that you're getting 4% a day, it's dropping by more than that every day. So, I just, without looking too deep into Tomb, I just kind of ignored it just because of how high the yields were at that time. But, another day I just decided, hey, I'm going to take a look into this. And once I did, and I saw what it was about, and I saw the charts, and I said, hey, this looks pretty good. I'm going to get into this. And, you know, once I really started doing a lot of research on it, I said, this is like, clearly this is working. I mean, they've proven it. They, lasted the test of time, and it took a couple months for them to really get going. But, just based on the results that they were achieving, that's why I decided to use Tomb Code. Um, and like I said in my last AMA, I wanted to change as little as possible because, if they have a working system, why change it? Then now you have unknowns, right? So it's like, I wanted to choose the right peg choice, and I also didn't want a $50,000 main token. So that's why I introduced the ratio, and those were some tough decisions to make because there's a lot of complications that got introduced with having a ratio for peg. And that's why the boardroom contract had to be swapped out there, just because of a small issue there. But everything's great now, and really happy with all the choices that were made. I think we need to buy B bomb when the BTC pair is going in permanent lost. Not sure what that question means. Maybe somebody could rephrase. For your doc's picture on the new website, can you be sitting in a Lambo flashing racks and racks of cash? I need to rent a Lambo for that, but sure, I don't see why not. So for single staking BTC, we are depositing to your centralized website, like sending it to your wallet on BTC mainnet. And if we want to withdraw, we request it, and you send back our BTC to our BTC wallet. Everything on the, yep, it's not going to be going to my BTC wallet, but besides that, that's fairly correct. When will you kick Crypto Sam and Let's Go Brando asses? They provide some good entertainment to our Discord. Any way to insure people's BTC through a third party? Um, I haven't really looked into that. I mean, it's the keys for, especially for round one, is just to release. I mean, to release a safe um, service. Um, you know, we're going to be offering reduced returns just so that we can have safeguards in place, like putting BTC to the side, and and as well, like a lot of all the BOM that they acquire at first is the majority of it is going to be done through private placements where we have that BTC still sitting there on the side. So it's really not much of a risk due to the fact that the BTC that they're depositing, the part that's not in their LP, is still going to be accessible. It's not like we're taking it and running away with it. So um, once we start doing larger amounts in the future, where that's not going to always be the case, and they're going to have to buy in the open market, and people dumping BOM would potentially cause them losses. We'll have to figure something else out at that point, and maybe we just limit how much BTC we're willing to take in, or or we could just offer greatly reduced yields that are 100%, like, that we can guarantee safety on them, or or we continue offering the high yields, but we just make it, we're just incredibly transparent about what they're actually invested in. Let's see what the next question is. FTM, very cool. Tomb, the most successful project there. Yeah, Tomb is about 15% of all liquidity on Phantom last I checked, so very accurate there. Almost at a very unhealthy level, to be honest. I feel I just need to hold BOM and B share. I don't see the interest to buy B bond. Am I right? Yeah, I mean, B bond is definitely not for everybody. I feel like a lot of people take it without understanding what it is. I mean, it's something where, if we're below peg, buying BOM and holding it in your wallet, or buying BOM and converting it to B bond, for the immediate future, it makes no difference to the protocol, right? Like either way, you're taking BOM, you're purchasing it, driving the price up. And if you're holding it in your wallet, or you're going to add BTCB to it to farm, then that's doing the same thing as converting it to B bond essentially, except for one way. The circulating supply goes down, and you don't have that ability to sell it or farm with it immediately. B bonds should really be taken for people that believe in the protocol long term, and they feel that the peg is going to go well above 1.1, and I feel that there's definitely going to be times in the future where that happens. So it's something that where you should take, like, a small percentage of your portfolio, if you're the type of person that I just described, and potentially hold on to some B bonds with that. And once we hit 1.3, 1.5 peg, and that's a great time to exit those for a juicy profit. Thoughts on Charge DeFi? You ever talk to those guys? I mean, I don't really talk to anybody in any other Tomb fork. I also don't really look into too much what other Tomb forks are doing. I mean, Charge DeFi is not really a true Tomb fork. They've changed quite a bit. I touched base in my AMA about some aspects of, I mean, it wasn't really directly targeting Charge DeFi, but, their rebase mechanic is something that I, went into a lot of depth on in my AMA, and I can kind of reiterate here. But, I'm really not a big fan of rebase mechanics to get back to peg, because, as I said in the AMA, like, is that really getting back to peg if your holders all of a sudden don't have the same amount of tokens that they previously had? It's almost like cheating your way back to peg. It's like, after a year goes by, and you've rebased 15, 20, 100 times, whatever it might be, maybe that original 100 tokens you had is down to 5 now, right? Like, what kind of investment is that? And to each their own. But when I'm offering, not me, when BOM's offering what I feel is a great long-term investment, I don't feel like rebases can be any factor in a good long-term investment. If you're constantly above peg to not need to rebase, then there is no need for the rebase mechanic. And if you're getting rebased all the time, it sounds like a pretty horrible long-term investment to me. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, please somebody correct me. I'm following all of the socials. What else is happening on the marketing side? I already talked in depth about that. So we have a lot going on that hasn't been announced yet. That's kicking in pretty much right now. So I'll definitely mention that on Bombshell Monday coming up. To be successful long term, does the protocol depend solely on onboarding new users, or will it depend on use cases as well? Is there an optimal number of users? Great question. So pretty much like everything that you said is beneficial to the protocol. Like with 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 use cases that give bomb intrinsic value, um, if people have a reason to buy bomb, hold bomb, and do stuff with their bomb, then we could be printing all day. And if these people want to keep buying more and more bomb, we don't necessarily need new users. But I think every protocol, always wants to have more users because it kind of lets all this successful things that you're doing happen at an exponentially faster and higher rate, kind of, right? So definitely we'll always be onboarding new users and making it as easy as possible for new users to come on board, and you know marketing to get put our protocol in front of as many eyes as possible, and you know like I've said before, widening our target audience so that more and more people that see it would be able to get involved. um, so yeah, I mean, it's a combination of both. I think the use case aspect is more difficult, and that's why we've put a lot of thought into that. And it's very hard to give a, it's not very hard, but it's we need our use cases to be beyond just a financial vehicle, right? Like we don't want every aspect of bomb just to be go back to just making more money. Once there's intrinsic value, like I need bomb so I can benefit in some other way, or I need, you know there needs to be non-financial use cases, and I feel like that's what's going to give bomb very long-term um, stability. How is advertising going? Would like to see growth in users? Advertising's it's been going well. It's gonna be kicked up many notches very soon. But again, there's not much reason to target users that aren't going to convert. That'd just be a waste of resources. So we've been kind of waiting for some of these web UI changes to be in place, and then we can kick some of our current campaigns up a couple notches. But we have we have a we have a lot coming very soon with marketing that we spent a lot of money on. So that growth in users you want to see will be coming very soon. What is the purpose of B-Bond token? That I'm not going to answer that because that answers in the documentation. Will there be a time lock on single staking BTC? So again, this is all subject to change in future rounds, but the way that it's looking right now for the first round is that there's not going to be a forced lock on single stake BTC, but if you want to be eligible to get all of your rewards, they're going to have to stay in our system for 6 months. So like while you will have the ability to withdraw at any point, to get the full yield, you will have to have them there for 6 months. And again, that is even subject to change for the first round, but it's going to be something very close to that. The other option would be that when you initiate your staking position, you either go with flexible withdraw anytime, and that's going to pay a much lower yield, or you can select if you want to lock it in for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, whatever you want to do, and then that's going to have the yields listed there so that you gain more yield when it's locked longer. What is the short-term goal, let's say 3 months from now? I mean, I've already mentioned a lot of our, what we're working on at the moment. Um, I mean, if you're just asking a general goal, it's the same as our long-term goal, which I mean is just to, have as many users involved in the protocol as we can, and build value for our current users and future users, and keep expanding our ecosystem to build those intrinsic value use cases that I've been talking about, and get involved with other protocols and with partnerships, and you know just really just to take bomb to the next level. And that's our short, medium, and long-term game plan. Let's keep it to questions. Okay. What are your thoughts about B share single stake like the one Grim has for T share? Can you explain what kind of effect it will have if implemented? Um, I mean, this is something that I think once we're more mature as a protocol, we can look into something like that. It wouldn't be difficult to implement, but I mean, I haven't looked too in depth into it, but I'm assuming that all it's doing is it's just staking B shares, and it's just doing the auto compounding for you. So that would introduce a lot of sell pressure on bomb if we were to implement that. Um, So that's something that I think we need to grow in size before something like that makes sense. But definitely something we could do. Thanks for the thoughts on charge. I was not aware that they were using rebase mechanics to get back to peg. That defeats the purpose and isn't really keeping peg then. Agree 100%, my man. Where will Bomb Party be located? Wherever is most convenient for everybody. Probably somewhere in Ontario, in Canada. How and when did you discover crypto? Well, my original discovery of crypto, I have to thank my cousin and member of the Bomb team, Joe Moon. We were working together many years ago, and he brought up Bitcoin to me. He probably knows the dates better than I do, but I'm going to say it was approximately 10 years ago, maybe 9 or 11, somewhere in that range. And I know I played around with it briefly. I think I started mining some on my computer, and it was intriguing a little bit, but it didn't really. I wasn't. I guess I was going to say I wasn't sold on it, but I didn't even really look into it enough to be sold or not sold. It was just cool, and then I moved on to running my business. What really sold me on it though was when I discovered smart contracts and what smart contracts could do, and that just opened the whole can of worms, and I just started looking into that more, and I was in love right away. And when I really fall in love with something, I'm perfectly happy working on it 24 hours a day. Nothing makes me happier than just making things work and figuring out how I can do something interesting and better than other people have done it, and so and so the timeline of that was about 10 months ago, I want to say, for when I kind of just really started digging deep into Ethereum and smart contracts, and then it kind of just took off from there. All right, well, there's no more questions here. I'm just going to go make a coffee real quick. I wish I had something to play for you guys while I go, and then if there's more questions when I get back, we'll continue answering. Okay, we already had a nice question there. So if anybody asks, I'm just going to make a coffee quick. So I actually didn't get a coffee because I didn't want to take too much time. I just grabbed the Coke from the fridge. Let me see where I left off. Actually, I'll answer that real quick. How many coffees do I drink per day? I cut back a little bit. I was drinking like 2 pots a day. I'm probably drinking like somewhere around 1 pot of coffee a day, like 8 cups or so. What was the hardships when you started working on Bomb? I didn't really have any, to be honest. I didn't really have any. There was no Tomb Forks at the time, right? So I didn't really have any expectations. I didn't know how difficult it was going to be. I just kind of went in, learned the code, and deploy the code, and didn't really. I guess the hardships were more just making decisions, right? Like, what's a peg choice that people are going to like? Do people, this is already a really complex system. Should I introduce a ratio for the peg? So I was kind of like having a tug of war match with myself about, do I keep it simple and not introduce a peg ratio, but then I can't really peg to Bitcoin because the token price is going to be way too high. So I guess that was probably the hardest part, was just making some of those decisions that you can't change later. And I think luckily I picked a lot of the right things there when I did that. Do you add sugar to your coffee? Drink my coffee black, sir. Don't add anything to it. Funny guy, Joe. Homer Joe in chat. Was it just me, or did he say he owed the entirety of his success to Joe Moon? Is Bomb Money Canada-based company? Um, Bomb Money is incorporated in Canada. We will incorporate elsewhere and have lots of plans in the future to be beyond just Canada. But yeah, in the meantime, it's a Canadian company. That's her in chat right below you. um, if we stake BTC on mainnet, is it possible for the stake amount to go down if Bomb is below peg? Yeah, it's definitely possible. We're going to be very upfront about exactly what is being invested in, and the BTC is essentially going into a double stack DeFi uh, yield protocol. So it's their BTC is going to be earning trading rewards um, whenever anybody trades Bomb. That's from PancakeSwap. Their natural trading fees, and as well, it's going to earn the rewards that our farms provide. So with all the things that we have on the roadmap and with the BTC single staking and everything else, I don't really feel that dropping well below peg is something that's likely to happen. But if we do drop below peg, those other incentives that they get by being in an LP can and should likely make up for any of that. And we've regained peg every time that we've lost it. So the chances of somebody entering at a high peg and losing money due to impermanent loss because Bomb loses peg, I think that's a really minimal thing. It's not very unlikely for that to happen. Are you working in VIP exchange? I'm not sure what that is, sir. Do you have many what may be termed whale investors, or are there mainly smaller investors? There's a very select few of individuals that I got in early that I guess would be, you could consider whales. I'm not sure really what everyone considers to be a whale, but as the protocol grows, those current whales are, I'm sure, going to be overtaken by much larger investors that come in once our TVL is higher. So, I mean, I guess there's a couple of whales, but it is mainly smaller investors for sure. First stream going well. Wasn't expecting this many bombers in here. How many bombers we got in here? 67 viewers. What's up, bombers? Yeah, sorry that we couldn't do this first one on YouTube. Had to kind of rush to switch things up to Twitch, but seems everything's working all right. Well, we've been going for about an hour and 10 minutes. Anything else you guys want me to talk about or go over? We can definitely do things a little bit more coordinated next week. Maybe have a schedule going or something. But like things that we'll talk about at first, and yeah, I'll do one of these per week. And I know that Richie from Crypto Mischief, he mentioned that maybe we could do one together at some point. That'd be fun to have guests on and stuff like that. And I mean, if this is something that people want to see often, I don't have a problem doing more than one a week. But for right now, we'll say one a week. Right now, I'm in Waterloo. So like most of my life I spent in Toronto, but I'm like an hour and a half away from Toronto right now in Waterloo, North York. That's where I grew up, man. Near Victoria Park and Shepherd area. Or Brian and Shepherd if you want to get specific. Do I speak French? Nope. It's the first class I started skipping in school, followed by many others shortly after. I'm a Leafs fan, yeah. Not nearly as much as Joe Moon there, but yep. A lot of fun memories from that area in North York. Anyways, guys, unless there's any other questions, I think we're going to call it here. And yeah, I watch UFC. Not religiously, but very welcome. What's on schedule today? To keep plugging away at all those different things that I mentioned that all of our users are waiting for. All right, guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and sorry if this wasn't as organized as maybe it should have been, but we'll get there for the next stream. And hope to see you guys all Wednesday and as well on Monday for our announcement. And this will be recorded, so you guys can find this on YouTube afterwards, and as well on, I think Twitch saves it for like a couple weeks or a month. But it'll be on YouTube forever. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day and keep bombing.